In the quiet village of Ntuli, hidden between the golden hills and the edge of the great Mubira Forest, lived a man named Kwame. He was poor, humble, and honest, a woodcutter by trade. His hands were calloused from work, and his back bent from carrying heavy logs each day. But his heart was full of love. And that love had only one name. Amora, his daughter, his world. SFX, birds chirping, distant axe chopping. Kwame lived in a tiny hut made of dry grass and mud, just beyond the village's edge. Inside, Amora lay on a woven mat, her skin pale, her breathing weak. For many moons, she had been sick. No medicine from the herbal women worked. No prayers brought healing. Every morning, Kwame rose before the sun, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "I will bring firewood and food, my child. Hold on. Baba is coming back." Then he would disappear into the forest, barefoot, carrying his axe on one shoulder and hope on the other. But the work was not kind. The dry season had made trees harder to cut, and animals more dangerous. Villagers no longer bought much wood. They laughed at his worn clothes and cracked feet. Worst of all was Chief Obodil, the village's ruler. SFX, deep drum beat. He was rich, proud, and cruel. His house was made of polished stone and wide roofs. His servants were better clothed than most villagers. But Obodil's heart was dark. He ruled with fear, not love. He mocked the poor and praised only those who gave him gifts. One morning, as Kwame walked past the market with a bundle of firewood on his back, Obodil called out, "Woodcutter. You look like a hungry ghost carrying sticks. Why don't you sell your daughter and buy yourself a new shirt?" Villagers laughed in the background. Kwame kept walking. He didn't answer. Not because he was weak, but because he had a greater fight, the fight to keep his daughter alive. Narrator, softer tone. The village of Ntuli sat beside the edge of Mubira Forest, a place both feared and respected. Children were told never to go inside. Elders whispered stories of spirits, lost hunters, and snakes with golden eyes. They said Mubira was once the home of forest gods. Now, it was a place of silence and shadow. But Kwame had no choice. The usual paths had no more wood. His axe found only stumps and thorns. He needed to go deeper, past the old termite hill, where even the bravest men did not step. So, one afternoon, as the sun dipped low, Kwame tied a red string around his wrist, a blessing for protection, and stepped past the termite hill. SFX, wind howling, strange bird calls. The forest changed immediately. The trees grew taller, older. Their roots twisted like old fingers. Strange flowers glowed in the shade. The air smelled like rain, even though the skies were dry. Kwame walked for hours, stopping now and then to chop a thick branch or rest his legs. Then he heard it. A low, deep hiss, followed by a heavy thump. He froze. At first, he thought it was wind through the trees. But it came again, a sound of pain, of something alive, and trapped. He followed the sound, each step careful. And then he saw it. SFX, silence, then a slow, eerie hum. Beneath the fallen trunk of a massive baobab tree, something moved. A serpent. But not like any snake Kwame had ever seen. Its body was thicker than a tree stump, covered in silver-green scales that shimmered like water. Its eyes, huge and golden, locked onto his. Its tail was pinned under the heavy trunk, twisted and bleeding. Kwame's first instinct was to run. Every tale he had ever heard, of snake spirits, of people turned to stone, of curses, screamed in his mind. But then, it spoke. Not with words. Not with a mouth. But inside his head, like a soft bell. "Help me. I am bound." Narrator, emotional pause. Kwame shook in fear. His hands trembled. His axe felt small. "If I help, will you kill me?" he whispered. There was silence. Then the voice returned. I only destroy those who take without giving, those who bind what should be free. And in that moment, something shifted in Kwame's heart. He saw not a monster, but a creature in pain. He looked down at his own cracked feet, his bleeding hands, the hunger in his belly. He thought of Amara, and how people walked past her suffering. He could not do the same. SFX, axe striking wood, heavy effort sounds. Kwame raised his axe and struck at the fallen baobab. Again. And again. The wood was thick, but his will was thicker. Sweat poured down his face. His arms burned. The sun sank low. One final swing, and the trunk split. The great serpent slid free with a rush, coiling back, towering above him like a wave. Kwame dropped his axe and stepped back, breathless. The snake's golden eyes glowed brighter. Then it bowed its head. A breeze swept through the trees, warm and sweet. The scales of the serpent began to glow, then fade, until its whole body turned into a silver mist and vanished into the air. Gone. Just like that. Kwame stood alone. No snake. No voice. Only the whisper of the wind and the soft rustle of leaves. Dawn broke over the village of Ntuli, casting golden light on the dry earth. Birds sang soft morning songs. A warm breeze stirred the leaves. And just outside the small hut of the poor woodcutter named Kwame, something shimmered. It was not firewood. It was not food. It was a gift, like nothing the village had ever seen. Lying gently on the dusty doorstep was a crystal scale, the size of a child's palm. It glowed with soft blue and green light, and when touched, it hummed like a lullaby only the heart could hear. Kwame stepped back in awe. The serpent, he whispered. He remembered the mist. The golden eyes. The voice that spoke without words. The serpent was no ordinary creature. SFX. Light chimes, a soft magical hum. Kwame brought the scale inside, not knowing what to do, only feeling its warmth in his hands. He placed it beside Amara, who was still pale and breathing slow. Then something happened. The scale began to glow brighter and brighter. Amara stared. Her eyes fluttered open. Color rushed back into her cheeks. She sat up slowly, blinked twice, and whispered, Baba. Kwame dropped to his knees, holding her face in trembling hands. Amara. I'm not sick anymore, Baba. I feel light. Narrator, tearful pause. No healer could explain it. No herb had done it. Only the serpent's gift. Kwame wept, cradling his daughter in his arms. She laughed softly, touching the scale with curiosity. It paused gently beneath her fingers, like a heartbeat. That night, he placed the scale on a small carved bowl in the corner of their hut and offered a simple prayer of thanks. He had no idea what would come next. Narrator, mysterious tone. At first, it was small things. A pile of clean clothes folded neatly on the mat. A bag of rice sitting near the door. Then came more. Sacks of maize. Ripe bananas. Yams. Even a jar filled with golden coins stamped with strange markings. And it kept coming, only at night, when the village slept. By the third night, Kwame's hut could barely hold the gifts. But he did not hoard it. He shared. He gave food to the widows, blankets to the orphans, coins to the jobless. He paid the debts of struggling farmers. He built a roof for the village school. People began to call him Kwame the Blessed. Children ran to greet him. Women sang songs in his honor. Men offered to help him gather wood. Even the birds seemed to sing a little louder when he passed. But not everyone was happy. SFX, low drum beats, distant thunder rumble. At the highest point of Ntuli, inside a large stone house, Chief Obadil watched with cold eyes. This man, he muttered, was nothing but dirt. Now the village bows to him. He paced across his polished floor, fist clenched. Where does his food come from? Who gives him gold? He sent spies to watch Kwame's hut at night, but they saw nothing. The gifts appeared as if by magic. Then came the message. One morning, Kwame stepped out to fetch water and saw something new near the forest edge, bound into the bark of a tall tree. What is freely given, can be freely taken. The words were not written with ink or carved with a knife. They were scorched into the wood, deep and black. He stared for a long time. Was it a warning? A reminder? The scale in his heart no longer glowed as brightly. Its hum had grown quieter. Kwame whispered to the wind. I understand. I will not take more than I need. And he meant it. He used the gifts wisely. Gave more than he kept. Built shelters. Planted new crops. Paid for children's learning. But the serpent's message stayed in his heart, a soft warning not to forget. Narrator, darker tone. Meanwhile, Obadiah's thoughts turned bitter. If a poor woodcutter can have such power, he growled, then what can I do with it? He began watching Kwame more closely. He heard whispers of a glowing scale. He saw the joy in the villagers' eyes. And he hated it. Power belongs to kings, he snarled, not to beggars. His envy turned into something else, obsession. An obsession is a dangerous thing. Narrator, closing tone. Kwame had no idea that trouble was coming. He thought peace had come to his home. That kindness had triumphed. That love had won. But when light shines too brightly, shadows gather. And in the deepest part of the Mubira Forest, the serpent watched. Its gift had been given. But its patience had limits. In the quietest hours of night, when even the wind holds its breath, greed wakes like a hungry lion. And on this night in Tuli village, greed had a name. Chief Obadiah. SFX, crickets. Footsteps on dry leaves. Wrapped in dark cloth, Obadiah moved like a shadow. He carried no torch. He spoke no words. Only his eyes burned, not with fear, but with desire. He reached Kwame's hut just before midnight. The moon hid behind a cloud, as if it too wanted no part in what was coming. Inside the hut, Amora slept peacefully. Kwame lay curled near the door, exhausted from a day of chopping wood and sharing food. Obadiah stepped over him. His eyes locked onto the glowing scale, still resting in its carved bow. It paused softly, like the breath of something alive. He reached out. SFX, sudden sharp sizzle, man gasping. The moment his fingers touched the scale, it burned. Not like fire. Like truth. Pain shot through his arm, but Obadiah clenched his jaw. He wrapped the scale in a cloth and stumbled out of the hut, cradling his scorched hand. Behind him, the wind picked up. A dog howled in the distance. The village shivered. Narrator, mysterious tone. Before dawn, the omens began. The village well ran dry. Chickens refused to leave their coops. A heavy fog rolled in, thick as smoke, hiding the sun. Children cried in their sleep. Mothers clutched charms. Old men muttered prayers they had long forgotten. And when Kwame woke and saw the empty bowl, his heart sank like a stone in deep water. Kwame, softly. It has been stolen. He ran outside. Looked to the forest. Felt the warning in his bones. He knew who had taken it. And he feared what would come. SFX, thunder rolling in distance, trees groaning in the wind. Obadiah, meanwhile, had reached the edge of Mubira Forest. The trees whispered around him. Their leaves hissed like snakes. But he pressed on, deeper into the forbidden woods. Serpent, he shouted. I know you live here. I bring your scale. I demand your power. His voice echoed strangely, like it didn't belong. The light in the forest dimmed. Even the birds fell silent. Then, the earth shook. SFX, deep rumbling, low growl rising into a roar. From between two ancient baobab trees, it came. The serpent. But this time, it was no longer trapped. It slithered with the grace of a god and the terror of a storm. Its body shimmered with blue fire. Its eyes were twin suns, burning through smoke. Its voice was not sound, it was force. Why have you come? I seek your blessing, Obadiah said, trembling now. I am a chief. I deserve your favor. The serpent coiled around him, towering like a mountain. The stolen scale floated from Obadiah's hand into the air, pulsing with angry light. The gift was not yours. You gave it to a poor man. I am powerful. I can do more with it. The forest groaned as if in pain. Branches twisted. Roots tore from the ground. The trees themselves seemed to lean closer, listening. You stole from one who gave. You took without need. You came with greed. Obadiah tried to run. But the serpent's gaze held him like chains. Please. And now you will return to the earth. Empty. SFX, a blinding burst of energy, a gust of wind sweeping through trees. A flash of light exploded across the forest. And when it faded, Obadiah was gone. Only ashes remained, and the whisper of a warning. Narrator, quietly. Back in the village, the fog lifted. The birds returned. And a single breeze carried the glowing scale, gently back to Kwame's doorstep. He picked it up, with tears in his eyes. I will guard it. I will use it only for good. But even as peace returned, a silence hung in the trees of Mubira. The forest had shown its judgment. And it was clear. Kindness brings blessings. But greed calls forth wrath. The sun rose slower that morning. And though the birds sang, the air felt different. Kwame opened his eyes not to joy, but to a heavy stillness in his chest. He knew. Even before stepping outside, he knew. SFX, wind brushing through trees, soft footsteps on dirt. Drawn by a feeling he could not name, Kwame left his hut. He walked toward the Mubira Forest, alone, silent, barefoot. No one stopped him. No one followed. It was as if the village knew he had been called. Deep beneath the old trees, on the very path where he once freed the trapped serpent. He saw it. The scale. SFX, low hum fading into silence. No longer glowing. No longer warm. It lay on a patch of dry leaves, dull and grey, like a stone that had forgotten it was once bright. Kwame bent down and picked it up. It was cold. But not cruel. It had simply finished its task. And Chief Obadiah? He was nowhere. Not even a footprint remained. Just silence. And a faint breeze that whispered, balance has been restored. Narrator, softly. When Kwame returned to the village, he noticed the change immediately. The golden jars of grain were empty. The carved bowls of fruit had vanished. Even the wooden walls of his hut, once glistening like cedar, were now plain again. But Amara. She stood smiling in the doorway, strong and full of life. She ran into his arms. Amara, laughing a papa, did the forest sing to you again? Kwame smiled, though his eyes were wet. Kwame, yes, child. And it taught me something important. Narrator, wiser tone. The villagers soon gathered around his hut. Their faces were filled with questions. What happened to the fog? Where is the chief? Is the serpent angry? Kwame said only this. The serpent gives what is needed. And what is taken wrongly, will always be reclaimed. He held up the now grey scale. This was a gift, not a treasure. Its power was never mine to own, only to honor. That night, the village elders lit a sacred fire in the center of Ntuli. And for the first time in generations, they spoke of mercy instead of fear. They declared a new tradition. The Day of Kindness. Each year, it would honor not gold or strength, but the quiet courage of compassion. Children would plant trees. Families would give to neighbors. And the tale of the serpent would be told, not to frighten, but to teach. SFX, drumbeat slowly begins, steady and warm. From that day on, no one spoke Obodio's name again. It was as if the forest itself had erased him. Instead, they spoke of Kwame, the humble woodcutter. The man who chose to help a creature no one dared approach. The father who shared what he could, even when he had little. Narrator, gentle, respectful. Kwame returned to his quiet life. He chopped wood. He mended tools. He watched Amara grow strong and kind, her laughter a daily blessing. But sometimes, when the winds of Mubira whispered through the village, he would walk to the edge of the forest. Not to seek power. Not to call the serpent. But simply to listen. To be reminded that true power lies not in riches or magic, but in the choices we make. The seasons turned like pages in a book. And though many years passed in Ntuli, the village never forgot the tale of the serpent, or the man who once freed it. Kwame grew older, his back bent and hair silver. But his spirit, still strong, still kind. And Amora, no longer a child, but a woman now, the healer, known far beyond Ntuli. Her hands mended wounds. Her words soothed sorrow. Her presence gave hope. But even hope is tested. SFX, cracked earth, distant coughing wind, dry footsteps. The rain stopped. The river that once sang through Ntuli became a trail of dust. Crops shriveled in the fields. Wells emptied. The trees stood still, too thirsty even to whisper. And the people, though once proud and giving, began to worry. Fights broke out over water. Bread was shared with bitter glances. Fear returned. Narrator, grave. One morning, under a scorched sky, the villagers came to Kwame's hut. Their faces were gaunt. Their eyes desperate. Please, they begged. The forest knows you. Speak to it. Help us. Kwame, frail but steady, nodded slowly. I will go. But not for gold. Not for power. I will ask only for rain. Amora tried to go with him. But he smiled, kissed her forehead, and whispered, You must stay. The village needs you more than it needs me. And so, he walked, alone, into Mubira, one last time. SFX, deeper forest sounds, heartbeats, distant echoes of thunder. He walked past the twisted trees. Past the place where Obodio vanished. Past the grey stone where the scale once rested. He went deeper than ever before, to a place where even the light had to whisper its way in. There, in the clearing surrounded by ancient roots, he knelt. He did not speak. He did not beg. He simply closed his eyes and waited. SFX, slow, rising hum, magical, wind-like. The ground shimmered. Mist curled around him. And then, it came. The serpent. Not coiled in fury, but flowing like water. Its eyes softer now, glowing pools of starlight. Its scales shimmered in hues of moonlight and sky. Serpent, a gentle voice like wind through trees, you return, not for yourself, but for your people. Kwame bowed his head. They are thirsty. I have nothing left to give them but my faith, and this old heart. A pause. Then the serpent whispered. And that is enough. SFX, first drop of rain, followed by rising rainfall and thunder rumble. Above Ntuli, clouds gathered. The winds shifted. And suddenly, rain. Real, quenching, life-giving rain. It poured over rooftops, soaked the fields, filled the dry riverbeds until they sang again. Children danced. Mothers wept. Even the elders bowed their heads in awe. But one person did not return. Kwame. SFX, rain softens to birdsong and wind in the trees. They searched for him, but found only his walking stick, leaning gently against an old baobab tree. No footprints. No farewell. Only silence. Yet, not empty silence. Sacred. Narrator, reverent. Some say the serpent took him. Others say the forest, grateful, gave him a place among its roots, a guardian of balance, forever watching. But Amora knew. Not with her eyes, but with her heart. Each time she walked into the forest to gather herbs, she fought him. Each time she knelt to help the sick, she remembered his voice. And when children gathered at her feet to hear old stories, she would smile and say, "Long ago, a man with nothing freed a creature with everything. And because he gave without asking, the forest never forgot him." SFX, final echo of rain and flute. So they built a small shrine at the edge of Mubira. A carved wooden figure of a man holding a serpent scale. Not gold. Not jewels. Just wood. Simple. Strong. Lasting. Like Kwame. Narrator, softly. And every year, on the day of kindness, as the rains begin to fall, the people of Ntuli gather beneath the trees. They tell the tale once more. Of drought. Of mercy. Of the return of the serpent. And of the woodcutter who vanished into legend, leaving behind not treasure, but truth.